Miguel had been driving for Uber in Austin for 3 years, and he thought he'd seen it all. From rowdy college students to messy bachelorette parties, nothing much surprised him anymore. But that all changed on a humid summer Thursday night just after midnight when he received a ride request that would haunt him forever. The pickup location flashed on his screen, Oakwood Cemetery. At first, Miguel assumed it was just drunk kids playing a prank, but the unusually high fare, $40 for what should be a 15-minute ride, convinced him to take the chance. As he pulled up to the cemetery's iron gates, a flickering streetlight cast eerie shadows across the empty sidewalk. He was about to cancel the ride when he spotted her, a woman in a long white dress standing perfectly still beneath the unstable light. Her vintage lace dress looked like something from another era, and her dark hair clung wetly to her face as if she'd been caught in a summer storm, though the night was completely dry. A chill ran down Miguel's spine as she appeared at his window without making a sound. Against his better judgment, he unlocked the doors. The woman slid into the back seat silently, bringing with her the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old coins. When Miguel asked for her destination, she didn't respond. He had to check the app, which showed a residential address about 15 minutes away. As he drove, Miguel kept glancing in the rearview mirror. The woman sat perfectly still, staring straight ahead while her lips moved silently, as if she were having a conversation with someone only she could see. The stifling summer air in the car grew heavier with each passing mile. Suddenly, the radio cut out, replaced by harsh static. Just as Miguel reached to adjust it, a whisper came from the back seat, "You shouldn't have come." The GPS flickered strangely, momentarily displaying a different address before correcting itself. Miguel's hands tightened on the wheel as he focused on the road ahead, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread. When they finally arrived at the destination, a dilapidated Victorian house with a crooked for sale sign in the yard, the woman turned her head slowly. Her eyes were unnaturally dark as she whispered, "You should have left me there," before opening the door and vanishing into the summer night. Not walking away, simply disappearing as if she'd never been there at all. Shaken to his core, Miguel sped away from the house. Later that night, with a glass of whiskey in hand, he reviewed his dashcam footage. The timestamp showed him pulling up to the cemetery, the car door opening and closing, but no passenger ever entered. The entire ride, the back seat remained empty in the recording. A quick internet search of the destination address revealed a newspaper article from 1987 about a fatal house fire that claimed the lives of a married couple. The wife had reportedly been wearing a white dress when she died. Miguel never drove for Uber again after that night. But sometimes, when he finds himself on empty summer streets late at night, he swears he can see a pale figure standing beneath flickering streetlights, watching, waiting for her next ride. Lisa had spent 2 years navigating Chicago's night shift Uber circuit, growing accustomed to the rhythm of the city after dark, the raucous laughter spilling out of Wrigleyville bars, the bleary-eyed travelers heading to O'Hare, the occasional odd passenger. But nothing could have prepared her for him. It began as an ordinary pickup downtown. The man in the crisp navy suit and neatly combed dark hair looked like any other corporate professional, perhaps a lawyer or banker working late. He slid into the back seat with a polite nod, his demeanor calm and composed. "Rough night?" he asked, his eyes flickering to her white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel. Lisa forced a smile. "Just tired," she replied, keeping her tone light. The conversation started normally enough. Comments about the unseasonably warm summer night, the Cubs game murmuring softly from the radio. Then, at a red light on Michigan Avenue, he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You live on Elm Street, right? Apartment 4B? His breath carried a faint hint of wintergreen. "Your cat's name is Milo." The air left Lisa's lungs in a rush. She had never told him that. Her Uber profile displayed only her first name and a generic photo. Her apartment building didn't even have visible unit numbers from the street. A cold dread settled in her stomach as the man smirked at her reflection in the rearview mirror. "I know a lot about you, Lisa," he murmured. Her survival instinct screamed. Without hesitation, she swerved onto the shoulder and slammed the brakes. "Get out," she demanded, her voice trembling. For 3 agonizing heartbeats, he didn't move. Then he laughed, a sound like ice cracking, and tossed a $100 bill onto the passenger seat. "See you soon," he whispered before vanishing into the crowd. Lisa reported the incident immediately, but Uber support found no record of the trip. His account had been deleted, leaving no trace. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The following week, she spotted him outside her favorite coffee shop, then again near her gym. always at a distance, always watching. Fear coiled tighter in her chest with each sighting. She installed security cameras in her apartment, changed her daily routes, and began carrying pepper spray. The once familiar streets of Chicago now felt like a labyrinth of unseen threats. The isolation of summer nights amplifies vulnerability. With fewer witnesses and slower police response times, workers like Lisa exist in a constant state of heightened alertness. The businessman hadn't needed weapons, his knowledge alone was the threat. The psychological scars lingered long after Lisa stopped driving nights. She found herself jumping at shadows, her nerves frayed. Studies show that night workers often develop hypervigilance resembling PTSD symptoms, their brains wired to remember fear more vividly than safety. Lisa learned hard lessons from the encounter. She now kept her personal life entirely separate from work, used a separate phone for ride-share apps, and ensured all pickups were recorded with cloud-backed dashcam footage. The police investigation revealed a chilling pattern. Similar cases involving well-dressed men targeting female drivers. None had ever been caught. As one detective told her, these people study their prey. The $100 bill left on her seat. Its serial numbers traced back to a batch stolen from a bank vault in 1997. Lisa still drives, but only during daylight hours. And sometimes, when a suited passenger slides into her back seat, she catches herself inhaling deeply, searching for the faintest trace of wintergreen, and the dread of that endless summer night. Jake had seen his share of strange rides during 2 years of driving for Uber in Seattle. The 2 a.m. drunks, the couples fighting in his back seat, even the occasional celebrity trying to stay incognito. But nothing could have prepared him for the peak of summer, when the nights were short but the shadows long, and the night he picked up a passenger who wasn't there. It started with a ping in a quiet residential neighborhood near Lake Forest Park. The fare was good, almost too good for such a short trip at that hour. When Jake arrived at the designated spot, the street was deserted. No houses with lights on, no late-night dog walkers, just the faint glow of a distant streetlight casting long shadows across the empty sidewalk. He checked the app again. Definitely the right location. Definitely an active request. Jake waited 5 minutes, then 7. Just as he was about to cancel, he heard it, the unmistakable sound of his rear passenger door opening. The interior lights flickered on, illuminating. Nothing. The door swung shut with a solid thunk. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He spun around in his seat. The back was empty. The app still showed the trip as active, counting up the fare second by second. Hello? Jake called out, his voice cracking slightly. Only silence answered. Against every screaming instinct, Jake put the car in drive and followed the GPS instructions. The robotic voice guided him through winding suburban streets as Jake's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. Every few seconds, he'd glance in the rearview, half expecting to see someone, or something, that hadn't been there before. The destination was a small park overlooking the lake. As Jake pulled up to the empty parking lot, the app suddenly canceled the trip. No explanation, no record of it in his ride history later. Just a phantom fare that vanished as mysteriously as his non-existent passenger. For weeks after, Jake would wake in a cold sweat, certain he heard car doors opening and closing outside his apartment. He installed extra lights in his parking spot and started checking his backseat compulsively before every ride. The incident didn't show up on his dashcam footage, just 10 minutes of him driving alone through the summer dark, occasionally talking to an empty car. Seattle's network of Uber drivers swapped similar stories in hushed tones at charging stations. The woman in the vintage dress who disappeared mid-ride, the businessman who knew things he shouldn't. And now Jake's story, the passenger who never was. Jake still drives nights, but he keeps a baseball bat within reach and never, ever assumes an empty backseat is truly empty. Because in the quiet hours between midnight and dawn, when the summer heat lingers and the streets belong to shadows, the rules of reality seem to bend just enough to let the impossible slip through.